You know what's fascinating? We spend our entire lives thinking we understand desire, thinking we understand what people want from us. And then, somewhere around the time a woman crosses into her 30s or 40s, beyond, everything we thought we knew gets turned completely upside down. Machiavelli understood something that most men never figure out, something brutal, something true. He understood that power dynamics shift, that what a 20-year-old woman wants from a man and what a 45-year-old woman wants are not just different, they're from entirely different universes of human experience. Most men walk through life believing in a comfortable fiction. They think women want the same things at every age: security, romance, a strong provider, maybe some excitement thrown in. They think if they can just crack the code once, they're set for life. This is the thinking of a fool. Machiavelli would have laughed at this. He knew that human beings are not static creatures. We evolve, we shed skins, we become different people entirely, sometimes within the same lifetime. An older woman, and by this I mean a woman who has lived, who has seen things, who has been disappointed and surprised and broken and rebuilt, she doesn't want what she wanted at 23. She can't. That version of her is dead. The men who don't understand this, they're still bringing flowers to a funeral, wondering why nobody's smiling. Here's what happens to a woman as she ages, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. She starts seeing through things. When you're young, you can be dazzled by confidence, by charm, by promises, by potential. You can fall in love with what might be. But an older woman? She's been sold potential before. She's watched it dissolve like sugar in rain. She's heard promises that evaporated the moment they left someone's lips. She's seen confident men crumble. She's watched charming men reveal their emptiness. Machiavelli wrote that it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But he also understood something deeper, that appearances deceive, and those who have been deceived stop believing in appearances. An older woman has developed what I call the sixth sense of disappointment. She can smell inauthenticity from 3 rooms away. She can feel when you're performing versus when you're being. She's done with theater. This terrifies most men because most men are still performing, still pretending, still wearing masks they don't even know are masks anymore. Let me be crystal clear about this. An older woman doesn't care about who you might become. She doesn't care about your 5-year plan. She doesn't want to hear about the business you're going to start, or the book you're going to write, or the man you're going to be once you get your life together. She wants to know, who are you right now? Because here's what life has taught her. Tomorrow is a fantasy. Next year is a myth. All we ever have is this moment, and the next one, and the one after that. String enough moments together, and maybe you have something real. Machiavelli understood that power exists in the present tense, not in promises, not in potential, in action, in what you actually do, not what you say you'll do. When a man talks to an older woman about his dreams, his plans, his someday future, she's not impressed. She's exhausted because she's heard this song before and she knows how it ends. What she wants is simple and impossible. She wants you to be fully present, fully here, fully yourself, without apology or augmentation. Can you sit with her in silence without checking your phone? Can you listen to what she's actually saying instead of waiting for your turn to talk? Can you meet her where she is, not where you wish she was? Most men can't, and that's why they fail. Here's where it gets really uncomfortable for most men. An older woman has been with enough people to know the difference between depth and the performance of depth. She can tell when you're quoting philosophy versus when you've actually thought about existence. She knows when you're trying to impress her versus when you're trying to connect with her. Machiavelli wrote extensively about the gap between how things appear and how things are. He understood that rulers must manage appearances, yes, but that beneath the appearance there must be substance, or the whole structure collapses. An older woman is looking for substance. She doesn't want you to be perfect. She wants you to be real. She wants to see your scars and hear about your failures and understand what keeps you awake at 3 in the morning. She wants to know what you're actually afraid of, not the sanitized version you tell at parties.
This requires something most men don't have: vulnerability. And I don't mean performative vulnerability. Let me share this one carefully curated struggle so I seem deep. I mean actual openness, actual honesty, the willingness to be seen completely, without the armor. Most men would rather die. They've been taught that vulnerability is weakness, that exposure is dangerous, that real intimacy is something to be avoided at all costs. An older woman sees this armor, and she's not impressed by it. She's bored by it. She's been around enough armored men to know that underneath all that protection is usually just a frightened child who never learned how to actually connect. This might be the hardest pill to swallow. Older women don't want to be saved. They don't want a hero. They don't want someone to fix their problems or manage their lives or make decisions for them. They've saved themselves already, multiple times. They know how to survive. They know how to rebuild. They've walked through fire and come out the other side. So what does an older woman really want from a man? She wants someone who is here, fully present, not half distracted by potential futures or past regrets. She wants someone who is real, who has depth, who has thought about their life, who knows themselves and isn't afraid to be known. She wants someone who sees her as an equal, not someone to save or manage or fix, but a true partner. She wants someone who is honest, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And she wants someone who is whole, someone with their own life, their own purpose, their own identity. This is not a small ask. In fact, it's an enormous ask. It requires you to be a fully developed human being, not just a man playing a role. And here's the Machiavellian truth that ties it all together. Older women have learned to be comfortable alone. They don't need a man in the way that perhaps they once did. They've built lives. They've survived losses. They know they can make it on their own. So when they choose to be with someone, it's a genuine choice, not a necessity, not a compromise, a real choice. But that also means they won't settle. They won't accept less than they deserve. They won't waste time on potential or promises or performances. You either show up as a whole human being, capable of real intimacy and real partnership, or you don't show up at all. Machiavelli wrote The Prince as a guide to power. But power, in the end, is about understanding reality clearly and acting accordingly. The reality is this: older women have evolved beyond the games, beyond the performances, beyond the comfortable illusions that younger people can still afford to maintain. They know what they want, and more importantly, they know what they don't want. The question is what they want from you. The question is, are you capable of becoming the kind of man who can meet them where they are? Most men aren't, and that's okay. That's their choice. But if you want to connect with a woman who has lived, who has depth, who has wisdom, you need to do the work. You need to become present, real, honest, whole. There's no shortcut, no trick, no strategy that lets you skip the hard work of becoming an actual human being instead of just playing one. Machiavelli would tell you, see reality clearly, act accordingly. The older woman in front of you is reality. She's done pretending. The only question left is, are you?